Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 13 of Podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and Soundcloud, and now topic by topic, day by day on YouTube, with the full video releasing on Friday. To catch updates about the podcast or for other news, give us a follow on your social media platform of choice listed in the description below. I'm your host, GM, and overseer of Podcast Five Rings, Obsidian, joined by the wall that will not fall, Tetsuo.
Hey everyone.
The Dark Fortune Duelist Meta, who's going to leave today after our first topic.
Oh, Yar, my bad. I forgot to push the talk.
He's there. And the resident...
I'm already gone.
And the resident wildcard Mal.
Yo, yo, yo.
So, as Meta is a line, if you've listened to our episode where we took the What Clan Are You quiz, we thought it would be no better than for Meta to start us off today, and because he has to leave. So, just to be honest with you, like the line would. So, go ahead, Meta. What's your topic?
Well, I think you can guess it might be something L5R related, and that L5R thing is the fiction that just came out yesterday.
Yay! Also, a quick note, I hope all of you who didn't get into the initial ticket run for Gen Con will get in now, because by the time you hear this, FFG has already put up new tickets, and they have gone on sale, and they are more than likely sold out. So, anyways, go ahead, Meta.
Thank God we won't know about it by the time I can get in there. Whew. All right, so, so the fiction came out this week. And I got to kind of read this because I remember, like, I didn't start with like any of the starting fictions at all when the stuff was coming out. Like, I kind of started the Destroyer War, and technically I started after that. I just happened to go back and read the Destroyer War to get like an idea of things that happened prior, although it never benefited me in any way. So it's kind of interesting to actually read this now and kind of like see how it's sort of the same thing that's happened already, but there are slight variations to it. I like Toturi. He's decent.
He's decent.
Yeah, he's decent. Arso was decent before he got, shot in the face. Suko is Matsu-like. I don't know. I just...
So why don't you tell us what happened in the fiction first?
All right, so pretty much it starts off with... it's taking place in a battle at Toshi Rambo, more of a skirmish than anything else, but Arso, who is the current clan champion for the line, is leading said assault. Toturi was brought out to kind of help provide aid and whatnot, but he opts to start off his little job by just simply watching it and waiting for the perfect moment to strike, which, being a lion makes sense, though it doesn't go all that well hand in hand with Suko, who is a little bit more on the fiery, temptress side of things. Long story short, they do make the pincer attack that finally goes into play, helps push back the crane, who eventually have to fall back to Toshi Rambo, but Toturi, who decides that they probably shouldn't press the attack, all things considered, is immediately negated by his brother, who says, "You think too much," which is a running theme in this, and opts to go for the charge, which is met with an arrow through his skull by said crane champion.
First body, then skull, right?
Yeah, first body, then skull.
I think it pierced his shoulder.
Yeah, he goes through his chest first, and then the second one goes right through his eye. So,
and Horu is crying the whole time.
Yeah, so they ending up having to kind of fall back, recognizing kind of just like how hard that of a blow that was to them, even in just a small skirmish. And they end up having, obviously, it hands over control of the Lion Clan effectively to Toturi, but they fall back. They end up talking a bit about this in camp, which the only voice who really wants to push for, you have to go to war now, we can't just let this shit slide, is Suko, who was to be betrothed or was currently going to be married to said clan champion before his recent decease.
And they definitely imply that there was like a true romance, not just the Rokugani, you two are getting married.
Yeah,
thing.
There was definitely a good implication.
She was she's the Matsu daimyo.
Yeah, and what's interesting that the fiction does is kind of contrast Hodoru's like idealistic version of romance with how Suko feels when she sees Arso die. It's not like that whole whimsical, like melodramatic, oh no, she's obviously concerned for him, but she's also concerned about the clan. You can tell based on her thoughts from that perspective. It's just a neat contrast that the two fictions had, I thought.
Yeah, very interesting. And essentially, I mean, like, going through it, they talk a little bit. There's obviously some forced voices on what side to take, and eventually it leads down to what does Toturi have to do, because the ultimate problem that he realizes, and I think one of his advisors even tells him, is that this could cause a schism if he doesn't make an action that approves of the majority of the lion.
Yeah,
Right.
I believe it was Matsu Agatoki told him that.
Yeah.
He gets a letter from Hataru.
Oh yeah.
Because they were, I guess they're friends, which is probably part of the reason why she was so distraught, and asking him what he's gonna do.
Well, and then there was the weird, they worded it oddly. It was like a friend of my heart or something.
A potential red herring at romance. Maybe a young romance.
Or just, maybe a young romance that eventually just became the two of them are really good friends. And, obviously, like, hey, you're my best friend, but I shot your brother in the face with an arrow. Not exactly a conversation.
And you also happen to be in the Lion Clan, the one that continuously swears blood feuds and would probably go insane with revenge over this. So
it's like, I actually want to kind of bring this up a little bit because, like, there's always the stereotypical line or like honor. They'll serve the emperor, even if like the emperor might be corrupted a bit because lion. I'm really interested in the fact that they even brought up the concept of a schism, like that the lion are so honorable that they would no doubt serve their clan champion, would potentially schism because the clan champion decides that no, this is the route we're going to take, and they might not like that.
Well, and it's core to the to what drama you usually get from the lion of who do you follow? Like what you have two lords that are both being honorable, but they're both going in opposite directions. Which one do you side with? And the schism itself is a very
well, I see, like,
forward metaphor for not metaphor, but
I guess my problem with that is that like technically the only lords they serve are the emperor, and then they also serve their clan champion, and then you have your mini lords who go down the chain of command. But at the end of the day, the emperor's not telling either of them to fight over Toshirambo, so there's no need for them to go on full-out war. And in fact, it's even mentioned that going on a full-on war without going through the right channels would actually look bad on them as opposed to anything else.
Yeah.
But barring that, if their clan champion says we don't go to war, you either agree with him regardless of your own thing, and that is considered to be the honorable, the stereotypical duty thing to do for a samurai, or you don't agree with him, cause a schism, cause infighting before you even get to an actual war, because that's what will happen, in, at least in real life situations that have happened in history. You can do anything you want with fiction and a magical samurai world, but you cause a schism, and then you either have effectively a revolution within the lion, or you have somebody bag the clan champion, put somebody who will do what they want on the throne, and then move from there. And it's just interesting because it's almost hypocritical for them to say, and I like this for what it is. It's hypocritical for them to say we're the most honorable thing, and the first thing that happens in this fiction is like, if you don't choose the right option, that's fine, but you're going to cause a schism, and then people are going to be pissed off, and they may not do what you want them to do, even though we're supposed to be the most honorable clan, and then we follow what honor and duty commands.
Yeah, and Toturi has that kind of moment where he's basically like, to call back on what you were saying a little bit earlier, Minna, that if they do try to not do this through the proper channels, then they're going to lose massive amount of face, because basically Arso charged after them in trying to start a war that hasn't been sanctioned by the emperor. So his death is completely on him, and they have to they can't really do the whole blood feud, like, you killed our champion, we demand revenge kind of thing, just because he did that.
Yeah.
The crane gets to claim self-defense.
Yeah, I mean, and that they even point that out, and you made a good point, Mal. They even point that out. There's like the crane will literally just claim self-defense. We were defending ourselves. Yeah. You started this fight. You came at us. We just defended ourselves and happened to kill your champion in the process. But that's the price of war.
Indeed.
Title drop.
Yeah.
I like.
Yeah, go ahead.
I like that Hataru. They made it ended up being Hataru, because
I do too.
The fact that they're friends, it just creates prime samurai drama.
Yeah,
delicious samurai drama.
That was a good change that they made to kind of like the previous history.
Yeah, and I wonder if they're gonna try and connect maybe at least for the foundation or all the stories connect some way to different clan champions or something even.
Yeah.
How did it happen in the original fiction? Like, how did Arso die?
It's in the Way of the Line book from the first edition RPG. He just basically he died in pretty much the same way, but the Hodori was never at that battle. He never like revealed himself, and they were like, we have to hunt them down. If we can capture the champion, then we can win this battle and take Toshirambo. He literally just got in over his head, charged into like a bad situation because of his pride.
He comes off very Matsu-like.
Yeah, and then got killed. Yeah, he was very Matsu-like in this fiction, which the fiction says, kind of, and even in the original canon, he was like that. So he's very much, like, pretty much the same. So yeah, that was, to have it not be, like, some no-name, I think it was Daidoji Spearman killed him in the old one. To have it be Hotaru was real. I mean, it didn't say Daidoji Spearman. It was like 3 or 4 Daidojis, basically just pincered him in. And I don't think Todori was at that battle either. I think he was still in the monastery. I think they also made Todori the older brother in this one, and he was the younger in the previous one, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that.
I think I read that he was older in both.
Okay, he might be. I thought I saw someone talking about that somewhere, but I wasn't actually sure.
Because I think it was that he ended up like going to study with the monks before their father was officially moved to daimyo status or something like that, and because of the way the training worked out, he didn't. I'm not sure, but I think it was something like that.
To encapsulate my brief thoughts on it, because I think I was the hardest one on the first fiction out of all of us, probably. I like this one a lot better. It was my complaint is still that it was a little too samey, but like we were talking last time, it's probably just going to happen on these first fictions because they want to connect to the old audience and give them something they've heard before, and also do a good job of introducing the clan.
Yeah,
to
they
the
just
newer
have to
players.
balance it too, because like I've already seen tons of the discussion that what they've changed is too much already.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
I would never argue that. No, the fiction was great. It was written very well. My favorite parts was the second half of the fiction where you were really inside Todori's head. You got the really cool like visual descriptions, like the metaphors of his thought process as a weakness, and how he kind of agrees with Arso that he does think too much, and he worries that it's going to be a burden that he can always visualize all these possibilities. They did a lot to humanize him a lot more than they did in the previous fictions, because the way that they did it. Good. I was just going to say, because it started, basically the old L5R started with Toturi already being a Ronin, so you didn't really get to, I mean, you followed him, he ended up being the hero and stuff, but you never really got in his head and in his psyche and his psychology this way, so it was just really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, like when you're talking about the way that they showed his thought processes and stuff, like, there were some words that they used that invoked imagery almost of, because I know that in the original fiction, he would see dragons. Dragons would visit him often. And so, like, they kind of worded it in such a way to, at least for me, kind of invoke that same imagery without the dragon actually being there. Like, there was, I can't pull, because I don't have it pulled up in front of me, so I can't find the exact phrasing that was used. But, yeah, like, some of the ways that they worded it, it just, to me, it reminded me of the times when he did, like, see a dragon in the falls with Hatsuko, his, geisha girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it was just it did such a good job of showing off what the Lion are, and also one of my favorite aspects about the Lion and what makes them one of my favorite clans is their whole this duality of being both a samurai and a human and having to struggle to be both at the same time and coming short of the expectations that the Empire and your clan and your ancestors have for you. Because one of the best lines was about Todori. It was, I think it was in his mind. I can't remember exactly, but it's like, the lion is a claw, his heart, his mane, like his teeth, so on and so forth. Or he's not just these things, he's all of them. So it's kind of like showing you that the lion hold themselves up to this high regard. Yet at the same time, Todori is so concerned about his humanity and his weakness and that he thinks too much. I just thought that was a really good job of showing what makes them interesting, whereas most people kind of find them as the generic, boring, standard vanilla samurai clan.
I kind of hope that like this kind of goes back to like what I was talking about in the podcast when we were talking about like, you know, the one thing we don't like about L5R or something we just don't like. And I was talking about Shoryudo, and this goes kind of back to that a little bit for me, is that I like it when they show samurai are just as human as any of us, and that it's very hard to be honorable. because being honorable requires you put aside your own humanity and you do things that you may not agree with but go through with anyway, because that's what being a samurai is. It's very easy to act on yourself, to follow your own loyalties, to say no just because you disagree. It's very hard to be a samurai because regardless of what you think, somebody else said this, you have to act upon that. And you have to make a choice that if you are going to betray those commands, if you are going to go against it, you have to be very certain that what you are doing is actually going to be for the betterment of everything, and know that maybe even in the end you might just get beaten down and forever be, at least in history's eyes, forever be an enemy. And I like the fact that they show humanity in this, and I hope they continue to do that through the series, because I want it to be, at least in my eyes, I want it to be where honor is a very hard thing to be, and that those standards are very high.
Yeah.
And I like that Suko made it look so easy and Todori made it look so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some discussion on that people didn't care to, or that they didn't like being so in Champion's head. They liked to be more distant figures, but I like how much we're getting to know the champions.
I do too.
Yeah.
They're going to be like your coolest cards in the card game, so I mean, it makes sense for them to early on invest in a lot of time because it makes you want to play those cards. So I agree with Mal. I think it's really awesome.
I'm just interested to see going forward, like if we're always going to have, like if the champions are going to be the core
Focus
protagonists and focus or whatever, or if we're going to see more, we're going to start seeing more.
I
like
bet
maybe
I bet we'll
the
branch
initial
out
runs.
because
Yeah.
So far we've seen two people that were formerly involved with the card game. Now, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean anything in and of itself. FFG can do whatever they want with the fiction, the story. It's a lot of it's in Katrina's hands, but she seems like she knew a lot about L5R when it was in AEG's hands, and they have captured some of the spirit of it. So I bet we'll see more personalities and stuff.
I think for the storytelling side, if they do keep close to the clan champions, I mean, that does have its pros where you kind of get to follow a little bit more of a solid narrative instead of kind of splitting off, and so it allows them, in a way, not to say like obviously it could be executed poorly, anything can, but in a way it allows them to kind of give us an actual story to follow, and if the characters die or something happens to them, it's a little bit harder because we've been there through them both thick and thin.
Right.
One could say it's less cattywampus.
Yeah.
No, they couldn't. Just stop.
A nice non-cattywampus linear narrative.
Oh my god.
But
But I mean, like obviously, if you do split off, you do get to see a little bit outside of things that are happening outside of the clan. So I think, I mean, you're not going to please everybody. There's going to be some people who are like, I want them to split. There's going to be people who are like, no, I think it'd be really cool just to follow the clan champions more so than anything else. And you might find people who's in between.
yeah,
But you won't please anybody.
I don't think I have a leaning quite yet, but I'm just curious to see how they'll go.
I will be so neutral it will
Yeah.
hurt.
Another thing I liked was that it's already taken. This was weeks after the previous story, which means that it's not going to be a slow glacial pace, maybe, or at least we'll have to see how it keeps going, but it kind of gives the indication that maybe things can actually happen at a reasonable pace, whereas because a lot of IPs, they never want to change their story, it seems like 40K was extremely bad about it, where nothing ever changed in the narrative until now. They're starting to they're changing that. But yeah, so I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Agreed.
All right. Do we have anything else to say about this? Final thoughts?
I can't think of anything.
No, I think I got everything out I had to say about it. I mean, beyond the fact that I probably still won't care if they die. I've never been really interested in the clan champions themselves or the characters.
Oh, and next week is also Lion Spotlight, where they push back the mechanics post, which I believe which makes them officially decide that Lion are the best because they get 3 weeks.
that week delay. So yeah, I was kind of hoping we get to see some of the at least spoilers. We didn't really get any spoilers this week either.
Not so much, just the one Reddit spoiler. Night Raid.
Yeah, the one province, the Fire 4 province strength that if the attacker attacked into it, he discarded cards equal to the number of personalities he was attacking with. if I remember correctly. Seems good. Right. Seems like one of the, if it's what people are suspecting, and you only get one element on each of your provinces, then it's going to be a really good one for defensive decks. So, I mean, very controlly.
Yeah.
Very good against possibly swarming lion.
Exactly. Maybe that's why they previewed this one. Show a little bit of balance here. I can't wait to see Totori next week. See his card finally.
Yeah, I believe that's why they delayed it.
Yeah, we haven't really seen. Yeah, we haven't really seen many line personalities. I'm hoping Suko's one as well would be really nice.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we could get Agetoki as a cavalry card, since he was a cavalry last game.
I don't know any of the really original story stuff, but I saw a lot of people happy that with the name drops from the old one.
Yeah, you had Motso, Kitsu Motso, Agetoki, Toturi, obviously Arso, and Tsuko. The only one we didn't get was Ikoma Sanuri, who was she was a
take your word on it.
Toturi student in the original Clan War storyline, or when some of the line ended up following the Tainted Emperor and some ended up staying loyal to the line. I believe it was Motso and Sanuri who were the leaders of the armies and were at odds constantly because Tsuko had commit seppuku basically.
Nah.
All right, let's get to the next topic. What do you got for us, Tetsuo?
All right. Well, I tried a new board game out the other day called Time Stories. Have either of you guys heard about this game at all? It's been around for
never before.
Do you cook delicious steaks in butter and thyme?
Yes. No.
But not on the board game, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what I do, yes, and garlic, but no, that's not the board game. No. So Time Stories, it's a collaborative, or not collaborative, cooperative board game. Essentially, so the story of it is everybody plays an agent in this time police agency thing. I forget what the agency's name for the game is, but it's like Time Agency or something.
Time
like
Cops.
You are Time Cops, and the whole point is you're supposed to be stopping schisms in time from happening. And so what they do is they send you into these receptacles, and then they transplant your consciousness into somebody that is existing in that timeline. So the stock game, the story that it comes with, I'm not going to get much into the story because if I do, it will ruin the game. The game is very atmospheric, but it's also very story-driven, and a little bit of story can easily spoil your gameplay through it. But essentially, there's a time schism happening in the 1920s at this mental hospital facility, asylum. And so all of the characters that you can choose from, because whenever it does that, you can either look at the cards, read them, and pick which character you want, or shuffle them up and just pass them out randomly. And each one has a different ability, but it also has a different drawback based off of what their psychiatric problem is at this place. And I don't know how it handles some of the other expansions. So each expansion is its own story. And all of the pieces that come with the game are designed in such a way where you can use them between all the stories. Like there's a token, with the first story, it'll say this brown token is considered a bullet token for this story. But in one of the other stories, it might, I don't know, a health token or a stress token or something. I don't know. I haven't seen the other games, so I'm kind of pulling that out of nowhere. But they let you reuse all the pieces. And essentially, you guys work together against the clock to try to stop whoever is opening up this time schism from doing so.
Okay. So does it really only benefit you to play through a story once, then?
Yeah, are you like spoiled if you play again?
It doesn't have like multiple scenarios like House on the Hill or something, right?
No, it's not like that in that regard, but there is a lot. So first and foremost, it definitely is a game where you are expected to lose. So there's a mechanic built in where if you run out of time, you can go back, because again, you're playing Time Cops, so time manipulation isn't too bad a thing, but it affects like your score and a couple other things. So obviously you want to try not to do it if you can avoid it. But when we played, we actually had to go through it 4 times. And we still did not explore everything that was in this one area. So while, yes, it does spoil it once you play through it once because you might know, okay, I can immediately go here and essentially speed run it. At the same time, there might be areas that you just never touched, you never explored, and you and the other group might go through all these other different channels that you didn't go through on the first one.
So is it like a dungeon crawler style game?
Kind of, yeah. So
like Descent, if you've ever played Descent.
A little bit. So
Is
the way
there
that
a
the game
map?
is set up. Yeah, I was gonna say the way the game is set up. It's a board that's put out, and then you have 4 cards, at least for this one, that show the map of the asylum. And what you'll do is you'll put a token down and say, hey, we're all in this room. And that's one thing. It does not let you split the party. The party has to stay together. But in the room, there'll be a card that you'll read, and it'll describe the room, and then you'll put so many cards out based off of whatever that narrative card tells you. And each card represents a different area of that room or area of space, whatever. So each person can go to a different card, or everybody can go together, and then you flip open the card, but only you can read it and only you can look at it. You cannot let anybody else see what's on that card. However, part of the whole wibbly wobbly timey-wimey thing, you guys are also connected telekinetically, so you can try to describe the card to everybody, but you're not supposed to let them see the card. You're not supposed to read the card verbatim to them either. You're just supposed to describe what you see. And so theoretically, you could just, everybody jumps around and visits every single card together so everybody sees it, but that takes more time. There's a time counter that goes down, so every action you take, the time counter will slowly go down. And then as you uncover things, you'll uncover more areas, more items, more, maybe you have to backtrack to that room that you started at because suddenly you realized, oh, there was something there that we missed the first time because we didn't know was an option, that kind of thing. It's fun. There's a lot of hopping around, though. Like, there's a lot of kind of planning and discussing and...
Does it have combat?
It does have combat. So each character has 3 stats. You have essentially it's dexterity, charisma, and strength. I forget what they call them, but essentially it's your ability to do quick moves, your ability to talk your way out of hard situations, and your ability to punch things in the face. Stats, and it'll tell you how many dice you can roll. Each die is a d6 with a blank side, 2 skull sides, 2 star sides, and 1 2-star side. Roll them. For each star you get, that's a success. So some cards will have challenges on them. Not all cards, but some cards will. And they will tell you what type of roll you can do. So you would look at your card, okay, so say it's a combat card, skill challenge, and your person has a 3 in combat. So you would roll 3 dice, but the challenge, it'll tell you how big the challenge is by showing little shields. So let's say it's a challenge 3. As long as you get 3 starbursts, you complete the challenge. Pretty simple, pretty easy mechanic. But sometimes the shields will have a skull on them. You then add it to the skull shield still remaining, and you take that much damage. So every character will have a life and a soak value, so they can soak the damage that they take. So your more melee guys are going to be able to really dish out and soak the damage. But like the guy I was playing had no charisma score whatsoever. I couldn't even attempt to do a talk out of situation.
This sounds a lot like Descent. Who's it made by?
Asmodee Games.
Oh, yeah.
The company that owns Fantasy Flight.
Is that the okay, for some reason I thought Fantasy Flight maybe owned them. I knew that they were connected, sort of, so. Okay. But yeah, it's done by them. And so there's a few expansion packs. Each expansion pack has a new story. I want to say the base game is like 50 and the expansions are like 25 or 30. I don't remember, though. That's not hard and fast.
Guess who owns Descent?
Asmodee.
Fantasy Flight Games.
Oh, okay.
So there you go.
Was there anything that you didn't think was, or maybe could have been better, or you didn't like so much?
There was a riddle that we were trying to figure out that it's very, how do I word this without being spoilery? It's very esoteric. And it's not that it's difficult necessarily, but the difficult part is realizing, bring to the table, so to say, to solve this riddle. It got very deep very fast, and it was like, hold on, boys, we're going deeper. And it's like, I don't know that there's any deeper to go, and suddenly we'd find out that we're still in the shallows. Like, it got layers upon layers. So I enjoyed that. I really liked that. But at the same time, I could see my wife she was getting very brain tired very fast, because it was like, this is a lot. This is a lot. And of course, I had a notepad out, so I'm taking notes as I'm playing. I know a lot of people don't necessarily want to play a board game where they They need to have a
Have to
piece
take
of paper
notes,
out
yeah.
to take
Yeah.
notes on the card.
That would be a kind of board game that would frustrate me. I feel if I had to take notes. It's
And
something
you
I
don't-
would.
you don't
It's something I would.
necessarily have to.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play it like late at night. I guess is what I'm saying.
Right.
When our last run, I think we packed up the game at like 11:10. We were like, okay, we're halfway through a run. We know where we're at. We took pictures, but we're like, nah, it's 11:10. There's no way we're going to be able to actually figure out this puzzle right now. We are exhausted. But if that's your deal, if you love the really in-depth, really got to think about the puzzles, then this is right up your alley. If you find puzzles that as a player you have to answer, as opposed to having like a role that you can do to solve it, to be difficult or annoying, you probably won't enjoy this game because there's not a whole lot of those.
How many
Most of
players
it-
is it?
It's advertised 2 to 4 because it comes with 4 tokens, but it does have like 8 people.
Yeah.
So,
So you get
but I
some
don't know
different
how much.
replay out of it, basically.
Yeah, just a little bit in that regard as well.
What's the average game time or whatever it says on there too?
I don't remember what it says on it itself. Look it up real fast. But for us, we were roughly going about to an hour 15 per run.
Oh wow.
But I was also stopping them so that way I could take notes. So that is, take that into account when I say that, because I'm
So
one of those.
yeah, if you are meant to fail, then I guess you could get quite a few sessions. Like, I mean, if you only play for like an hour or maybe once do one run and then move on to something else, or
Yeah.
How much did the game
Again-
cost you?
My buddy brought it over, but I think
Okay.
I want to say it retails 50. I can over here. Yeah, retails for 50. And the
That's not
expansions are
bad.
about 25. Yeah, the additional story is about 25. So, and the amount of stuff it comes with, like, it's very densely packed with stuff. So you definitely get your money's worth. It's not like, some board games can be like $50, but it's like, this is kind of a $20
Really
game.
rinky dink, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not that. Like, this was one I could see retailing for on the $70 to $90 range and being okay.
Like,
'Cause
always-
some board games do, but
I always think
balk
of-
at that. But
Yeah, one of my first board games I played, I mean, obviously not like Sorry or Monopoly or something, but was Twilight Imperium, and
oh
how much-
boy, that was your first game.
yeah, and
Why?
Oh,
Who
man.
did that to you?
a masochist. And how much does that game retail for?
person
Like
is not a
$150.
Yeah,
It's super expensive,
but
Yeah.
it's like a 10-hour session.
Like one-
You
Yeah.
get your money's worth.
dude.
yeah,
I don't.
played that game once. Oh boy,
It's a
that
game.
took all day.
But anyways, keep going, Ted.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you there.
oh no, you're fine. That was actually a good yes,
Segue.
because it's not as bad as Twilight Imperium is in that regard.
Not much.
But but I could see you easily spending 5 to 6 hours on this game and still having fun, still exploring things and getting more information and diving into it if you want to sit at the table for that long. But I mean, how many video games do we do that with? And the story itself can get as in depth as that, if not more so. But I mean, because it's exploratory, you can also kind of take your own pace. If you and everybody decide to fly through everything, you could as well. So. But I recommend it if you like board games that are a bit of a mental teaser. Because again, the really difficult puzzle that we were working on, I don't know if it was actually necessary to completing the story. It kind of felt a little bit like a tangent, but I'm a completionist, so I gotta go do all the tangents. But if you don't like games that are if when you sit down to a board game, you want to play something that you just can kind of play with friends and just goof off and not have to focus too much on the game itself and really drench your brain in it, you're probably not going to enjoy time stories. To be fair, if that's your inclination and there's a game that says this is a game about timelines and crossing timelines and weaving timelines and changing timelines, you're probably not going to be intrigued by the game anyway, because timelines tend to imply in-depth craziness. But
Just play Timeline while you play Time Stories.
exactly. Oh, I forgot about that game.
I love Timeline. It's so fun.
Timeline's so much fun. I can talk about that at another podcast, though.
Yeah. All right, let's get on to my topic. you know, if you've been listening to every episode of the podcast, I've talked a decent bit about Nintendo. Some might even infer that I'm a bit of a fanboy based on all the stuff they've heard. But yesterday, as these two can attest to, I was not very happy with Nintendo. So, for those who don't know, yesterday, June 7th, we got a new Pokemon Direct, 8 minutes long. Already, I think they announced it the day before, wasn't it, Mal? That they were doing the Direct? Oh boy, that hype train started rolling, and it went off the rails so fast while I was listening to that thing. Basically, here's what they covered, what Nintendo covered in the Pokemon Direct. We got a Ultra Street Fighter 4 version of Pokken, so we got Pokken DX. It's coming out for the Switch, I believe, in September, and it's going to add new characters, basically the same old Pokken game otherwise. I think they're going to add some motion control-y stuff, and you'll get, be able to take it on the go, obviously. They announced Gold and Silver for the eShop on 3DS. This is something a lot of people have been wanting. I think it's pretty neat. I'll probably end up picking them up, just because Gen 2 is my favorite gen.
Yeah.
Woo, Gen 2.
Best gen.
But, and this is where I started to get upset. Nintendo announced...
Thing. What else is there to be upset about?
Exactly. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. 7 months after...
Digimon.
7 months after we got the last Sun and Moon. So, normally I'd be like, okay, yeah, it's coming on the Switch, right? These are the Switch ports, huh? No, they are on 3DS.
You're wrong.
They are on the 3DS.
How dare you be optimistic?
How dare Nintendo try to milk their money out of me? The kind of bigger question I have for my topic that I wanted to ask you guys, I'm going to spew out some evidence as to why I think the way I do. Should Pokemon main games be a handheld series only? And here's some stats I want to throw out at you that I looked up earlier. Pokemon series has sold so far over 290 million games worldwide.
Yes, I believe Pokemon is one of the top, or is the top grossing fiction.
It's the number 4 highest selling franchise in all of gaming, behind Super Mario's number 1. I believe Tetris was number 2, and Super Mario Kart, which they for some reason, or Brothers, which they for some reason counted as their own series, was number 3. Then Pokemon was number 4. According to the Video Game Sales Wiki, which cites other resources, you may go look them up if you choose, 3 Pokemon games are in the top 10 highest selling Nintendo games of all time. Red, Blue, Green, and Yellow at number 2, Gold, Silver, and Crystal at number 5, and Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald at number 7. In the top 10, there are 3 Mario games as well, 3 Wii franchise games, and I'll also let you know, Wii Sports was the number 1 Nintendo selling game of all time, just because it came with every Wii.
Count.
Yeah.
So technically, you could count Red, Green, Blue, and Yellow as the number 1 selling Nintendo game of all time. And Tetris on Game Boy was number 10, I believe.
I think when you factor in shows, merchandise, and everything, I think
it's made
Pokemon is one of the top fictional franchises, in the world.
Yeah. Sold Red, Green, Blue, and Yellow sold higher than the original Super Mario Brothers, which is at number 3. And these games have also been out not as long as Super Mario Brothers have. So I guess the point is that I understand kind of why they do it. They want to keep them on handhelds, and they want to keep selling their handheld systems. I know
Japan is all about handhelds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I don't know what their margins are on their consoles. On the 3DS, I don't know how much money they make per system sold. I don't know how much they make per Switch sold. But I know one thing, the Wii U bombed.
Yeah.
The Switch has been doing really great so far. I think it's exceeded their expectations, obviously, because they can't keep the things in stock anywhere.
Yeah, I believe they said they're going to they've doubled their estimated yearly ship amount sold or whatever.
Yep, so that's good. But I think just like a success isn't going to be good enough, or shouldn't be good enough for them, they need to completely reach for the stars. Pokemon is
their bad pun.
Yeah, reach for that stars we didn't get. That was a pun not intended either. And
they also own a third of Pokemon Company. So when you factor in all of the other stuff coming from Pokemon,
yeah, I know, but they could pull their weight on them. Right? I think they really could if they wanted to. If they were,
no, I'm just saying they don't need necessarily more out of Pokemon. They got a third of the Pokemon Go sales.
Yeah. I mean, just look at Pokemon Go sales in general. I mean, technically it's a free game, and how much money was made off of it?
Yeah, that should be Yeah, it should be a good indicator to them of how popular Pokemon is and how much it has the potential to make more money. I'm not really understanding. I know they want to keep selling handhelds and stuff, and maybe having 2 systems on their market is at all times is going to always be Nintendo's game plan. But I think if they just put one main series game on that Switch, it would be bonkers. If they'd put one on the Wii U would have been a success.
If they put one on the 360 or the Nintendo 64, it would have been amazing selling. Like,
Pokemon sells systems. We have proof of that. It's their biggest franchise, and it's not on their main console. It's it's the logic only Nintendo could have.
Well, you know what I think part of it though is too.
What's that?
Like, how would you do Pokemon on a console system? Like, how would you make the game up if it was a main game?
Just like all the other ones.
Exactly. And all of the other ones, they push the hardware of a handheld, but on a console, it's going... I would think that it would come off as very lackluster, and it would actually bite them in the tail, because then everybody would be like, well, you didn't do all this stuff, and we were expecting so much from Pokemon, and it was so bland.
I mean, they could have just ported it over though, because Monster Hunter shows that that's a possibility now with the Monster Hunter Double Cross coming out, which is just a direct port, and but people are super excited about that.
Well, but Monster Hunter 2, though, let's be honest, Monster Hunter being on handheld, it's always been a game that probably would have done better on console, at least for the game interface and the way it's designed. It was very awkward on the 3DS before they came out with the 3DX XL that had the little C stick. It was kind of difficult to control the camera and everything.
Yeah, but I'm saying that
it's
going to have the same technical aspects as the handheld version. But it's going to be upscaled, but which they could do with Pokemon.
And as far as how much upscaling can you do, I feel like there's more of a possibility with Monster Hunter than there is with Pokemon. I know not
the same engine, or like they use this, like, I don't know. It's already like Monster Hunter and Pokemon are already capped on the 3DS at the same amount.
They could re-render the graphics too, I think.
Yeah, but from a gameplay standpoint is what I'm saying. Like, Monster Hunter, it's a free-roaming, third-person, you have these vast vistas around you. Pokemon, yeah, you have that, but, it's random encounters. You don't even see the Pokemon on the map. So are we going to turn it into an action-adventure RPG? So now we start seeing the Pokemon jumping around? That's fine.
I don't really think this... I think they could do a direct port, and it would be fine, because their new console is also a handheld.
Yeah. And I think the gameplay just stands on its own too, because it's basically been the same.
I'm just presenting an argument.
Oh yeah, no.
I would love to see it on console. I'm not at all arguing that they shouldn't.
Yeah,
I'm just presenting like this is something that I can see them saying that it could be a problem because they don't see it. They see the negative backlash that the trolls on the internet, because I mean, let's be honest, the internet can be a very, very negative and toxic place if it wants to be. It can be great, but it can be that.
Sure, but I don't think they base it on that.
But I mean, game reviewers and stuff, they're expecting all of these technical masterpieces. I know we touched on that on a much earlier thing, and you guys know my opinion on the rating stuff that they do, but it's still there. It's still something that I think would affect them negatively, because then everybody, I don't know, I see them looking at it in that direction and going, people won't receive it well because they will expect more than what they can present without changing the core of the game. And if they change the core of the game, it's no longer a quote-unquote Pokemon main series game.
Yeah,
I still think they could just do a port of these Ultra Suns and it would go over fine.
Yeah.
For the most part.
They wouldn't be able to keep the Switch in stock for a whole nother year if they ported this thing out. But basically everyone that I've seen reacting on the internet, like, I mean, not everyone, that's a bit hyperbolic, but literally like 90% of people are saying that Nintendo really goofed on this and missed their opportunity. And I mean, it happens every time they announce a new game, because people have wanted Pokemon on a console since the N64. So
I think people wanted Pokemon on a console since the Super Nintendo. I know I did. I remember on the Super Nintendo they came with this cartridge that you could put Game Boy cartridges
Super
in.
Game Boy, yep.
Yeah, and I remember the summer program that I went to when I was a kid. They had one of those, and like I would spend the whole summer program while everybody else was outside playing. I would be either outside playing Pokemon on my Game Boy, or I would be inside playing on the Super Nintendo Pokemon.
Yeah, that's how I played mine on my Super Game Boy. But I don't know, it's just like Nintendo's MO. It's like Everyone says they don't listen to their fans. Everyone says they want a Metroid game. They don't get a Metroid game. Everyone wants a new Pikmin console game. Well, you get Hey Pikmin on the 3DS again, because we're not going to let that thing die. Everyone wants Pokemon on a console. Well, you're not going to get that. You're going to get the quote-unquote better version with quote-unquote new story.
But,
like
alternate story.
7 months later.
Successful. Like, because I think the other thing, too, is that we're coming at it from the position of the gamers, you know, and don't get me wrong, there's a large majority of them with Nintendo, but I think Nintendo's core demographic is kind of the casual gamer who's like, it's Nintendo, oh, it's another game with Mario, okay, it's something different, oh well, and then they sell like 50 bajillion million buttloads of it just because it has Mario stamped on it. And I'm not saying it's necessarily good practice, and I'm not saying that I'm happy with it, but it kind of is a little bit there as well.
Why couldn't have they just did them both? Because the Switch has obviously been in development. You could have had it on the 3DS and on the Switch, and you would have sold a bajillion of both of them. Your new 2DS, Double XL, Birth by Memories, whatever, Kingdom Hearts bullshit. But it just, like, what are they thinking business-wise? They want this new console to do well. Put a Pokemon game on it. It's all you have to do. It's literally all you have to do.
They did. Pokken. Clearly, that will save the Switch.
He's got a point. He's got a point.
You killing me, Mal. You killing me. So I really have to fight this. Out of principle, I'm telling myself I'm not going to get this thing. At least, like, not right away. I'll probably buy it used way later on down the road.
Like, even without it, like, without the whole Switch, should it be on the Switch thing, 7 months for just the third version, or, you know, the third game, although they're doing the black and white tooth type thing to where there's two of them. 7 months late. Well, I mean, I guess it'll come out a year later, right? That's really quick.
It's really quick.
Because
I think it's always 2 years.
Because I could have sworn Crystal came out really quick to Silver and Gold.
I think it was closer to a year than 2 years for that one.
Yeah, because I remember in middle school playing Silver and Gold and then playing Crystal still at middle school, and that was only 3 years together. But I guess that's still the 2 years could have factored.
I would imagine these games have a lot more like development time than those do. That's why it like comes off to me more as like a cheat. We're gonna change outfits, and here's a kind of new story, and you get these Ultra Beast versions of the legendaries.
We also don't know how much of the story they had planned ahead of time, and if they were a different studio under a different company, this might have just been DLC and post-story stuff. You know what I mean? Like this stuff could have been something that when they started writing Sun and Moon, they already had in mind what they were going to be doing for Sun and Moon Ultra, and had already been developing it.
Do it for DLC then.
That might have taken... Well, right, but I mean, how much does Nintendo do DLC compared to other companies?
Look at Fire Emblem.
Fire Emblem costs more than the game.
Okay,
it's
but
the
Fire
worst
Emblem
thing
is an
ever.
Outlier. But that's kind of an outlier with Nintendo.
Oh, they do stuff for like Mario Kart and Smash. Some of their bigger titles they'll have DLC for. Like, I could have seen them doing this. Just don't, like, to use a disgusting metaphor, don't hand me a turd and tell me it's chocolate.
Yeah. Well, but I don't, and to be perfectly clear, I do not think that Sun and Moon Ultras are going to be a half-assed, only DLC amount of content. I do think that they're going to be full games and a full game's worth of content, and therefore justifying of a full game's price. But what I mean is that they were planning it when they were planning Sun and Moon. They had already planned for the story of Sun and Moon and Ultra, knowing that they've already laid the groundwork where everybody does expect this second set of games after a first one comes out with Pokemon. If that makes sense.
They'd have charged $20 for it. Just did all the add-on stuff and made it a DLC.
Yeah, they could have done the Fire Emblem Conquest thing, or the Fates. That's what it is.
Right. I just mean that because they might have had the story already written, that makes sense why this 7 months as opposed to something longer, because a lot of that work has already been done. That was really all I was trying to get to.
Yeah. Then to me, it's just too samey and not worth a completely new experience. I don't know. Like, could you picture Sony doing something like this though? Like, imagine they come out with like a franchise that does better than Uncharted for them, and it's on the Vita, and they just decide they're never going to put it on PS4 or the PS5 or whatever. There's a reason Sony does better than Nintendo. I think this is one of them. All right, Mal, what's your topic?
I kickstarted the new BattleTech game way back in 2015 because the Kickstarter launched in September, and they just they dropped beta keys last week, and so I've been playing that. It was, yeah, as I said, it was kickstarted back in September 2015, and they raised 2.7 million. And it's from the Kickstarter describing what BattleTech is. BattleTech is set in a universe at perpetual war, fought by militarized factions utilizing huge mechanized combat vehicles called battle mechs. Following centuries of space colonization, the rise of 6 great noble houses, treachery undermined the Star League and toppled its first lord. The rulers of the 5 remaining houses each proclaimed themselves the new First Lord, and so the succession wars began. Hundreds of years of mechanized armies, scavenged technologies, and political machinations follow suit. So the game is set in year 3025, which is just after the 3rd succession war began.
Okay. So for those that are slightly familiar with the lore, but not 100%, like myself, is that pre or post the clans coming back?
I don't know. The clans? What do you mean?
So in the story, when at one point after this first Star League falls, some of the groups stay within the galaxy and some go outside of it.
Oh, right.
And then after indeterminate amount of time comes, they come back
can't
to the
say.
galaxy, and they're called the clans. And there's definitely an ideological difference between calling yourself either a clans BattleTech fan,
right?
Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly can't say. I don't have a lot of attachment to all the BattleTech lore. I've played the games on Xbox, and I think the mechs look cool.
Yes, I remember playing it on
That's
PlayStation.
my extent.
Mech Warrior 2. Oh, I love
like
Mech Warrior
mechs.
so much.
The game is being developed by Hairbrained Schemes, which is this is the 4th game of theirs I've kickstarted. The other 3 being the Shadowrun CRPGs that have come out semi-recently over the years.
Right.
Yeah, and I loved all 3 of those, and they each one has gotten progressively better, and they really show that they've learned from previous works and will listen to their fans and whatnot.
Is this one a CRPG too?
So it's turn-based. Yeah, it's sort of like that, or like it's you'll deploy a lance of 4 and then fight against the enemies in missions. It's turn-based, but it takes a lot from the tabletop game. So Hairbrained Schemes was created by Jordan Weissman and Mitch Gittleman. Weissman is one of the original creators of BattleTech. It was 2 guys, I guess. I don't recall the other person's name. And he also helped design Shadowrun, the original Shadowrun, which explains why they've worked on these IPs.
Interesting, yeah.
And Gittleman was the producer of the original BattleTech video games back on the computer.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah, because I think both, for the longest time, like as much as BattleTech has, over its long and storied history, it has changed hands with different publishers. Yes. But I think that it's always, at least once Shadowrun came around, they both shared a publisher at any given time. Right now, I think they're both owned by Catalyst Labs, is the team that owns them.
Catalyst Game Labs.
I dropped games.
So there's also BattleTech Online. And the makers of that are letting them use all of their in-game models for their mechs to help. So
I was going to ask that. I know some people aren't a big fan of them if they're like attached to BattleTech, but I love the Mech Warrior Online renditions of some of them. Because they update them. Like the old stuff, some of them definitely look like 1980s mechs.
Right.
And so I think Mech Warrior Online does a good job of modernizing some of the chassis.
Yeah, so this is so they will be like basic BattleTech Online is all like in from the cockpit and stuff. Right? I believe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's this is all like sort of like CRPGs and whatnot, where you're like looking down on the little miniatures almost. And then they're also working closely with Catalyst Games, who currently produce BattleTech tabletop board game and the novels.
And if you guys are interested, if you guys don't know and you guys are interested in hearing about the BattleTech board game, let us know. We might work it into the next episode. Just going to give that out there.
So yeah, the project seems like it's in good hands. Like everyone, yeah, it's connected to BattleTech currently and in the past. Like it's working very closely. They wanted to do single and multiplayer skirmish for the beta, but they were only able to get single player out at the moment. which I've been playing for the last week.
Do you know how much the retail value of the full game is going to be?
I don't. I would, off the top of my head, it would probably be about 40, or like between 30 and 50, probably. I think.
That was
whatever
the more recent Shadow.
Yeah,
Run
whatever the
was,
Shadow
right?
Runs probably cost. I can't quite
I
recall.
think they were 40.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say, but give myself some wiggle room.
I was just going to say that the CRPGs, because I know that CRPGs can be different styles and have different genres. Shadowrun and therefore BattleTech Tactics, they're both tactics style, right? Like where you have the squares and you move so far and you can shoot so far, and then they take their turn.
Yeah, it's turn based with I don't think it's grid based, or at least it's a hidden grid if it is. I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you go so far and then you can shoot. Yeah, it's all like that.
And
so,
BattleTech has traditionally been hexes for its grids, which I've always liked.
I think it's not grid based this game. At least again, it might be hit. Well, I guess actually you do pick a point. There's just not literal grids. I haven't looked to see if you can turn that on, and maybe you just can't for the beta. So there's 6 maps and there's 3 levels of points for the battle, basically, like skirmish, battle, and war. Maybe I can't remember. I know war's the biggest because I played a lot of that. And you get to control your lance of 4 mechs, and there are a few different. Right for the beta, there are a few different mechs with a few different loadouts. I think totaling in 35 options. And
Can you do customization on that, or
no, not so you there are like 3 options for a catapult or something.
Okay.
And the final game they've said will have I think 40 mechs.
Dang.
Yeah. And then they are going to use a hardpoint system, which will allow you to replace energy weapons for other energy weapons, that sort of thing, to help maintain the lore of each mech.
Okay.
So after you can choose different tonnages of mechs depending on your point layout. It goes all the way up to Atlas at the moment. There's only one Atlas, and you can also choose a pilot. There's a variety. I don't know the exact option or amount, but there's I think 10 to 20. Which each pilot has 4 stats: guns for ranged attacks, piloting for melee attack, guts to see how much heat they'll take on, and tactics for I think sensors and initiative. And then each pilot has a special ability, just one right now. There are slots for 4, but just one for the beta, and there are things like multi-target lets you target multiple mechs for your attack, and evasive, where you are harder to hit if you've moved for the turn. So at the start of your skirmish, you have a line of sight, and then the fog of war. And the first turn, all 4 of your guys move at once, and then after that, it turns into an initiative order. And how the sensors work are as soon as you get a little blip on your sensors, you just see if it's the weight class of the mech, basically light, heavy, medium, or assault. And then as they get closer, you'll see their actual weights. It's all in millions of tons, I think, or something.
It should just be straight tons, because I think
is it? I can't remember.
assault class is 100 tons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then once they get in your line of sight, you just see the whole mech. And then it's turn-based, where on your initiative 4 comes up, and then anyone with that initiative gets to move, trading off between you and the enemy, and then it goes to initiative 3 and down the line.
Okay.
Yeah. So and you can there's positioning where there are the front and rear and side facing armor values and whatnot, with different parts of the mech to you could damage arms, legs, parts of the torso, the head, the cockpit. If the cockpit gets destroyed, the mech is destroyed. And the only time you can target specific parts, though, is if they've been knocked down.
Oh, okay.
You can do a cold shot.
Yeah.
You can even cause ammo to blow up if I think you crit it maybe once or twice. I can't quite remember. I've seen some people complain that's much too rare. One guy was like, I've played 44 hours of this and I've only had it once.
Well, I know traditionally speaking in the game series, you have to keep attacking a place and destroy the armor enough, and then you could possibly critical and do damage to the ammo to cause an explosion. But the problem is that if you do that damage enough in that same area, there's a good chance that you will destroy the mech before you really actually get to trigger the explosion anyway. So.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure they're taking a lot of the mechanics from the game, the tabletop game, and just putting it in.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen people talk about. Like, I think the values are upped, like the damage values and the armor values are like times 5 or something, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But
for the most part, it's a matter of the internal calculations are similar calculations.
Yeah. I've never played the game myself, but I've looked through the rules because you've expressed interest.
Well, I have the game and I have a bunch of the miniatures. Right. I know me and Cameron played a bunch at one point.
So it definitely feels like the tabletop game, and it looks great already. Like the graphics look great, and the audio's all pretty great. The AI is pretty subpar though, unfortunately. They have said that there will be different difficulty ranges in the full game though.
Yeah,
I know the AI definitely needs work though, and then I think there's some other gameplay balancing, like autocannons. The higher end ones are pretty OP, I think.
Okay,
but again, they've been receptive in the past to their players, so I have high hopes, and I think they'll get it. Like that's what the beta's for, right? They want lots of critical feedback, and then they've said that the what's that?
Speaking of the beta, is it only those that kickstarted it have access, or is there a way to get in?
You had to back it at a certain amount. I think it was 50, which is what I did. I don't know if it is a closed beta, and I don't know if you can just if you go and buy it now, if you can get access to it.
Okay.
And they've said that the campaign, we'll have a complete campaign where you command your own mercenary outfit, who's been drawn into all the inner sphere conflict going on. And you'll get to manage the finances and logistics of your mercenaries. And they actually funded it enough, to where they unlocked the expanded campaign, which lets it be more open-ended and choose different contracts and alliances with the great houses and other factions even in the inner sphere.
So it's got some
grow and you'll get to grow your reputation, which will affect the kind of contracts. And they warn, different great houses will probably be trying to use you for their own agenda, maybe betray you and whatnot. It all sounds pretty cool, but we'll have to see how it gets actually implemented finally, because I think there's a lot they could do for it.
I don't know a lot about BattleTech, but one thing I do know is that people love the setting a lot.
Right.
One of my friends wanted to basically run an RPG with the miniatures where we play the game and have a campaign and stuff. So, people love the game, so...
Catalyst Labs, Game Labs does actually have a Mech Warrior RPG. I've never played it because whenever you are in the mech, actually in that core rulebook, it says you should use our miniature game for when you're in mechs, which, I own both products anyway, so it's not that big a deal, but I could see that being a game breaker for others. But whenever you're outside of your mech, guns are very, very lethal, which makes sense. People don't exactly stand up to bullets very well, but that doesn't make a good game necessarily. It could, but I've always wanted to try it, though. I'll be honest.
Yeah, you can check out the original Kickstarter page for the whole pitch for more info, and then they also have forums up now with questions from the dev, which just how the beta's going for more info.
I need to check this out. I'm excited about it coming out. If I had been able to kickstart it, I would have.
When's the full release, Mel?
They haven't given a date for that yet.
Do they know if it's only going to be PC or is it going to be on PS4 and Xbox One?
I think it's just PC.
Yeah,
but I'm not 100%.
The way the setup is, I feel like it would do better in PC, at least the way you've described it and everything. I don't know
if they've put any of their other games on anything.
So it's probably going to be PC only then.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're excited to play the full
it's
game
pretty cool. I've liked what I've got from the beta. I'm really looking forward to how the campaign will shake out.
I'm curious about how the mercenaries... Sorry.
Keep going, Tets. What do you got?
I'm just gonna say, I'm curious how the mercenary outfit's gonna work
Right.
if you get to actually like customize the name and stuff like that,
Oh,
or
yeah.
if you're gonna be like an existing.
They did
one,
say
like
that
Monster
our
Bones.
one of the levels they unlocked was customizable home base in a derelict dropship.
Ooh.
And I pulled up the page, and it is only for PC, Mac, or Linux.
Okay.
Wah. Didn't you say some of the old games were on Xbox?
Original Xbox.
Yeah,
Okay,
there
there
was-
wasn't
there was-
anything on 360.
There was 2 on the original. There was a couple that came out for the DS. There was 4 that came out for the original PlayStation. And then
Nothing in a while, basically.
yeah, nothing in a while. And
Other
then
than the online
Warrior
game.
Online
Yeah.
came out, what, 2011, 2012, something like that?
Not
I think.
sure.
So no loyalty to
Never
any
got-
platform.
Nah.
Well, yeah,
they're
this is
kind of-
a new. This is a new. This is a different developer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the developer's loyal to PC, it sounds like. So.
Again, I think that it's partially Mech Warrior has changed hands a lot. Well, Mech Warrior / BattleTech has changed hands a lot throughout their long and storied
Yeah.
history. So, but they always seem to survive, and they always seem to find an audience because it's awesome, and you should check it out because it's awesome. And you
People
should
love
love
it.
because it's awesome.
People love it.
It's awesome.
All right, this has been episode 13 of Podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and SoundCloud, and now topic by topic, day by day on YouTube, with the full video releasing on Friday. Be sure to check us out on social media. We are on Twitter at Podcast5R, Facebook at facebook.com/P5R Podcast. We have a YouTube channel now with our name on the end of it. Check it out there, Podcast of Five Rings, and MetaStream, twitch.tv/PSO Flow. We'll see you guys next week with some more line cards and a bit more flavor about our favorite Berserkery Bushido fan.
Obs.
Yes.
Obs. It's E3 next week.
We will still be back with more L5R stuff.
We'll figure out how to work.
L5R will be in a separate video because the whole podcast will probably be dedicated to E3, so look out for a double episode, if you will, next week.
Don't forget to check out monthly modules.
Yep.
Which
Mecha
is
vs.
awesome.
Kaiju will be live by the time you hear this. Part 1. Check it out. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Good time.
Bye.